Welcome to my 2024 desk setup and home office tour. I walked in, I had coffee, I played some games. All that I did, so I don't need to worry about that. My name's Jonathan, sometimes go by John or Trainer John, whatever you prefer. So this is not my first desk setup video here on YouTube. And my setup has changed a lot over the years, from having it in my bedroom, to my first apartment when I was in college, to having it with my business partner, and now with my wife. We will be focusing much on my wife's side of the office today because she has a lot of active projects she's working on. She does a lot of arts and crafts and other miscellaneous projects in that regard. So I'm going to focus primarily on my side of the office. However, I will show a glimpse of what hers is like. So what you're seeing today is a lot of different equipment I've gathered over the years. So this is a semi-budget friendly video for setups for new beginners or for people that just have collected stuff over time that they can reutilize. Technology is always changing and adapting, so you really need to keep up to date when it comes to a lot of things. But there are some things that you can be a little bit less so. If you get a good pair of speakers that were from 5-10 years ago, they're probably going to be just as good today. The only difference being features, Bluetooth, connection, wireless. And that's just an example. I'm not saying you shouldn't get speakers that are current, just that that's something you could have got that was a bit more outdated that would still be really suitable for today. Speaking about speakers, I have these 𝘚𝑚audio speakers that I picked up back in 2016. They've worked for me great, and I've had absolutely no reason to need to upgrade them. They sound terrific, and I don't use my speakers all the time as it is. A lot of times I'm using my headphones, which are Corsair Virtuoso headphones, and those are my go-tos. But if I do want to just be able to listen to some music or do some video editing, the 𝘚𝑚audio speakers have been fantastic for me. I have them to my left and right at easy access points to my ears, and I know some people have them raised up higher for different audio levels, but considering I'm not using them for work at all points, I'm not as worried about this, and I prefer having them on the sides of the desk. I use the wireless Corsair Virtuoso headset, which is fantastic for both video editing and for video games. It has a fantastic battery life, definitely lasts me all day without ever needing to charge it, and I do have a USB-C charging cable that I have connected to the desk right behind where it is, where it's docked, so I can easily plug it in to charge it at night. And I can also use that to charge my phone or my tablet as well. My only complaint about the Corsair headsets is the iQ software, and for those that know, they know it's not a great software. If you're using Corsair headsets and you want to do anything custom with it, it works great when it works great, and it works horribly when it works horribly. And whenever there's a new software update for the Corsair headset off of iQ, it's best to just not update it if you can avoid it, because a lot of times they'll just give you a lot of problems with connecting your Corsair to the computer going forward until you can get it corrected or there's an update. So I definitely like this nature theme that we have going on here in this office. It is a smaller office, so having a nature theme has been something that I really like because it just brightens up the space. There's a lot of greens and browns. The green colors I primarily work around have been mostly emerald, olive, and matcha. We have this accent purple wall that we have. We both love the color purple in general, so we have these wooden wall panels that basically make these mountain scenery and has a sun. They are real wood, and we got them on Amazon, and I think they look really elegant and minimal. I also have this Trainer Tips poster. One of my favorite YouTubers to watch is Trainer Tips. I love playing Pokémon Go, and I've really enjoyed his channel since 2016, so I've gotten this picture frame when he had it available 4 or 5 years ago, and it's a perfect theming to go with this entire setup. The state parks are beautiful, and I love the slogan, Real Life Adventure Co. Behind me is this black pegboard, and it has the 8-bit 𝘚𝘚𝘀, which is my favorite starter Pokemon, if you couldn't tell from the video clip over here on my background for my wallpaper, which, by the way, wallpaper engine has been fantastic. Aside from the 8-bit 𝘚𝘚𝘀, I have this controller that my wife gave to me for Doggy Father's Day. I'm a dog dad, so there's that. And it's of Super Mario Brothers, and I absolutely love Mario. It's one of my favorite franchises as well. Anything Nintendo pretty much is something I really enjoy and adore. It's just too pretty to really play with it. I have other controllers for that, and I like having it on display. As soon as Funko made it possible to order pops of yourselves online, I jumped. For my anniversary, for our wedding anniversary last year, I decided just to go ahead and get them from myself and my wife and of our little dog Scrabble. Scrabble is this beautiful little pit bull. She's only 2. She is definitely a companion and a co-worker, I'd say, here at the office. She has a space right underneath my wife's desk that is just perfect for her, and she can just lay out. We have a nice water dish that doesn't really allow for spills, and we have these buttons that she can just click on at any time that just allow her to sort of speak to us by saying yes and play and treat. Treat. See? To the left of the pegboard is the 𝘠𝘗 floor lamp. It is currently using the rustling leaves effect, which is one of the presets that's on there, but it just fits so well in this environment and space that I don't have to change it at all. And we have this sign from Dollar General that I got a year or 2 ago that is green, and it says "Let's Stay Home," and it just fits perfectly. I love it. For the wall behind me, we have this 3D paneling of this black brick. It has adhesive on it that you can easily cut around so you can have it fit in the exact space you need it to go into. And it just adds a little bit more character to the room. And on top of the black brick paneling, we have these green vines. They are obviously fake, but I think they look great on camera, and they add to the whole aesthetic. Behind my monitors are these hexagons that I got on Amazon. They kind of have a dual purpose. The main purpose is for decorations. It allows me a chance to be creative and have some of my photos on display, but it also softens the sound of the room and makes it less echoey. Less reverb. We also have some eggshell styrofoam to help with that as well on the wall. We have the green mountain lamp. Below the light are these two free-floating shelves. The top one has a lot of memorabilia and props from various films that I've worked on. Right below that is another shelf that has some decorations on there that I've collected over the years. From these two cameras, one being a wooden camera that's actually functional. It's pretty cool. And I have this watch my best friend gave me for his wedding because I was his best man, but he was also the best man at my wedding, so I had that on display.
The power that's inside Pokemon!
So the computer that I'm rocking is an HP Omen 30L computer. It is a custom build through HP's website that I got back in 2021. The graphics card is an RTX 3080 Ti. It has an i7 12th generation Intel Core processor, 4 GHz. So for the monitors, a lot of people say go 4K, which is great, nothing wrong with that. But I've decided to go 2K, and for a couple of reasons. One, it's a little bit more cost effective, and two, I feel that if you're that close to the computer screen, having a 2K monitor is more than sufficient. My primary monitor is an HP X27i. It has 143 Hz refresh rate, and it's running a display port to my computer directly. And it has an additional HDMI out, which I use for my Nintendo Switch. For my secondary monitor, it is a 2K monitor by 𝘢𝑃erfect. It's connected to the computer by mini HDMI out, and it's powered by USB-C. And it's at 120 Hz refresh rate. I know a lot of people would prefer to have it ultra wide, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but I do prefer having a separate screen be for a separate purpose. So if I wanted this to have a Discord opened or have an extra screen just to have all my media for when I'm working on Adobe Premiere or other software, it allows me just to have that extra window when needed for anything. It just is really helpful having a second screen be just a second screen. I'm using a SteelSeries keyboard that I actually got last year. I'm using blue switches with it, and I've customized with my own matcha keycaps, including these wooden ones for WASD and for spacebar, because I do a lot of gaming as well, particularly Valorant, League of Legends, Dead by Daylight, and other Steam games, which I'll just list here. And whenever I'm out playing multiplayer games with my friends and I have some extra time, I'll usually play my Nintendo Switch, which I have a large library for games on there as well. For my mouse, I'm using a wired Razer Basilisk, which has been optimal for gaming for myself, has a lot of different DPI settings and great color settings from the Razer panel. For work, I use the Logitech MX Master Mouse 3. I've been using the MX Master series for actually 7-8 years now. I've been using it as my primary go-to when it comes to video editing. It has great ergonomics, a lot of features. I don't think I could ever go back. I've had a lot of different iterations of them, and this is the current one that I'm using, but I do have this older one as well, which is MX Master 2. Doesn't really get used now, but it is a backup if I ever needed it. For my microphone, I was using a Blue Yeti microphone, but it was the first edition back in 2012, 2013. I forget the exact year. For the microphone I'm using on my computer right now, I'm using a fine microphone. I've had no problems with it. I think it looks great, has great RGB settings, and it has a great sound. It's perfect for voiceovers, and it's perfect for Zoom calls, meetings, or for games. Going back to being budget friendly and cutting some corners, I did get a more standard mic arm to go along with my setup. It's perfectly fine, it's definitely functional. For what I needed it for, this is fantastic, and it was only like $15 as well. I do have a lot of my own camera equipment, but I don't use it nearly as much as I once did, mostly just because it's not part of what I do for work as often. I'm glad to still be able to utilize that equipment when needed to. For stuff like this. I do a lot of stuff for myself too on TikTok and other platforms that I would highly encourage you to check out if you have any interest in Pokemon or collectibles in general. So for the past decade, I've actually been a professional video editor and cinematographer, mostly working throughout the New England area on marketing and short films and small productions here and there, including TV production and other various projects over time. In fact, there was a period of time that I was doing a lot of real estate marketing for both video tours and also for photography that I really enjoyed, but then COVID hit, so there's that. I probably photographed over 400 to 500 different homes. I also did a lot of independent short film productions ranging from comedies to dramas to even documentaries. In fact, I have a lot of my memorabilia from the films that I've worked on display, from a CD and other miscellaneous props from the films, which was really fun to be able to include and keep. One thing I have in particular is this Slinky. My best friend and I did a short independent horror film of a movie called Slink. It was about a little Slinky, so I'm glad I kept that. And it was kept inside of this red box, this red gift box, and still have that to this day too, which is really cool. But I'm less involved with production, more just behind the scenes video editing, which has been really great, and I love being able to work remotely entirely, which I used to drive a lot, and I kept on adding up those miles to my car significantly. In fact, I had to go for 2 different cars during that period of time because I was driving everywhere throughout New England and put in 100,000 miles within 2 years. So there's that. I did start doing more remote video editing work. And that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years. So after the pandemic hit, I started doing my own thing, particularly when it came to social media content. When I started doing more content for myself over on TikTok, I was doing a lot of informational videos about Pokemon cards, my collection in general from pop figures and other miscellaneous anime properties, Disney properties, Nintendo properties, retro games, video games, and showing other people various aspects of collecting and trying to include them in that process and also give them tips and tricks and trying to help them out as well. Both my wife and I are huge collectors. We do have a huge collection room, so if you wanted to check it out in a full-length video, let us know down in the comments. I even made a whole documentary on the history of Level X Pokemon cards, which was kind of a forgotten time for a lot of people, I feel, when it comes to the Pokemon TCG. I've had a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of incredible people, and I'm still thriving doing that today. And that did bring me to Nate, and it brought me into other aspects of video content creation for social media and YouTube properties.
So today, for the first time ever, Breaking Family, you will get to meet my YouTube editor. I gotta say, he is absolutely amazing. I love him, and to me, in my heart, he is a friend first, and then he's my YouTube editor. We have really bonded over the past few years, and I just love him to pieces. When my head turns into a Psyduck, that's him. The Machamp-like strength, that's him. Timber! That's him.
Yes! Thank you. I'll get back to work now. I'm absolutely thrilled to be working with him. He's a wonderful person, great friend, and I really appreciate his time. And it's just been an awesome, excellent partnership we've been working on the past few years. Things are still going very strong. We have a lot of projects coming up that we're very proud of. You have noticed I'm wearing a real 𝘵𝘢𝘕𝘏 hoodie. But anyways, let's wrap up that part of the video. I've had my own business for the past 10 years now called 𝘨𝘢𝘕𝘏𝑗𝑠𝑡𝑒𝑟 Productions. I have a lot of fun doing what I do, and I'm really happy to be working with the people that I'm working with. My wife's calling me. Hi, I'm filming. So I actually filmed the majority of this video last week, but there was one new update that I've added since we filmed. And that is this. We had a white curtain here before, but we decided to remove it to add this in instead. Opens it up a bit more. Before it was a bit bulky and it just would sit right here, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I think this looks a bit cleaner. Wouldn't you agree? I know I've already made one update regarding the curtain back here. However, my wife has now since started to update her desk area too after finishing up some projects she was working on. For the moment, it is under construction, so we're just kind of going through a revamp on her side of the office while still keeping our unique styles and decorations separate. I think it looks really cool though. So a lot of people go for BenQ lights when it comes to their light bars, but I actually got this generic one off of Amazon that I got for maybe $25, and I've had it for almost 2 years now. It's been perfect. It does only warm and cool settings, or you can do a mixture of the two. But for whenever I'm working on an art project, or I just want to have an extra light on, particularly when I'm working in the evenings and I have my overhead lights off, it is just excellent to be able to just have an extra light on hand whenever I need it. Look, it's lighting it up right now. And it is powered by USB-C. And for those that might have a problem wondering whether the webcam would fit on top of that to make it centered, I did get this extra attachment that I purchased off of Amazon that allowed me to basically connect it with an adhesive to the back of the light bar and allow the webcam just to sit on top very easily, and I can adjust it when needed. As for the webcam Rocket, it's a pretty standard HD 1080p webcam that I found on Amazon. It's not a C920 from Logitech, it's not anything too crazy, and I think it looks pretty good. Both my wife and I do share a Galaxy Tab S8 for on-the-go purposes, whether we just want to watch Disney Plus or Netflix on the go or Crunchyroll, or if I wanted to draw on it. I particularly like drawing manga and anime-inspired artworks. As you can see here, I've done various things from Pokemon, from My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Z, and including my Trainer John 94 logo that you saw at the start. And just talking tech in general, I did recently upgrade to a Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus. I am a Samsung guy at this point. I used to be more of an iPhone person, but I just transitioned over to Samsung. I just prefer customization options. My wife and I do also have a shared HP Omen laptop, which I'll show a photo of here. It is running RTX 4060, an Intel i9 core processor with 1TB SSD, 32 gigs of RAM. I say it's a shared laptop because when we're home, my wife uses it. Whereas I have my computer all set up and ready to go, it's only really needed for myself if I'm on the go for work. We do have separate logins, and I have all my programs separate from hers. And aside from sharing the office and the laptop, the only other thing we're really sharing in here is the Alex drawer in the middle of our room. It separates our desks nicely, and it gives us some extra organization options to work with. For productivity and organization, I do mostly use my notes online using Google Keep. However, on other occasions when I want to write something down on the fly, using a Rocketbook has proven to be excellent for me when it comes to scheduling or notes from videos that I'm working on. I have my Rocketbook preset, so if I ever scan the QR code and take a photo, it'll go right to my Google Drive instantly, allowing perfectly for digital notebooks to just be accessible online at any given time, through the app or on my computer. We do have a pretty large window in our office in the middle of the room, and to prevent having too much glare and reflection from the light outside, we do have this transparent blind that we use. It allows us to cut out a little bit of that extra light and glare and diffusing the room as a whole. But it still allows me to see outside when needed. Ever since I got this HP 𝘠𝘦𝘦𝘯 computer, I've actually been using the standing desk. For cable management purposes, to make things just look as clean as possible, I've been using a spine. I don't know the exact term for them, but it allows me to put cables inside of it to be able to thread them through when needed, and allowing for easy access to reorganize cables when I need to as well. There is a cable caddy underneath the standing desk that does give me some extra flexibility for hiding cables so that I just don't see cables as much as possible. I don't have the best back, so having a standing desk is really helpful for whenever I do need to stand up, especially when I'm working long periods of time, but it also allows me to have a walking pad underneath, which has been optimal to use as well. I am using an ergonomic chair by FlexiSpot. I can adjust it so that I can lean backward even more than I am right now, and I have different heights for the chair, and my arms can listen up, which is really good too. And for extra comfort, I got these arm pads that go right on top of the current arms just to allow for them to have a little bit more height to them. I keep my headrest a little lower sometimes, so if I'm leaning back, it's more comfortable for me as well. And something that didn't come with the FlexiSpot chair are the wheels. I got these skate wheels separately, but they work great, and it allows for the chair to move a lot more smoothly on the surface, regardless of whether it's wood, if it's rug, or anything in between. This space isn't very large. It used to be a walk-in closet years back, but we did do a lot of modifications and renovations to make it what it is today. For the office, I really wanted a very warm and bright environment to work with. I love the aesthetic. I love the way that the lights are in here. I love that it gives me a productive space to work with to allow me to focus and just to enjoy what I'm doing. Whether it's work, playing video games with friends, or to spend time with my wife and our little doggy daughter Scrabble. It's great having a space like this to call home. Well, till next time, thanks for watching.